Hey, hey. I just want to be one of the first people to say, welcome home, Great Lakes. It's good to see you. We're going to need to build a bigger room already. It's crazy in here. This is amazing. This box has become a very special box to me. If you are not sitting in the first front rows, you're not going to be able to tell what it is. It is full of about 700 commitment cards that were given 1 year ago for this project. It is people that said, I'm willing to give sacrificially and generously to make a place like this a reality. And what's so cool about this community, if this is your first time with us, you know in normal life, people make promises all day, every day, and then have a hard time keeping them. You are among people who keep their promises, and you are sitting in proof of it. So I just want to say, for those of you whose name is on a card with a dollar figure next to it in this box, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing me, reminding our staff, reminding our church what it looks like to trust God to do more with our resources than we could ever do with them ourselves. Because my guess is most of you did not wake up on some random morning a year ago and gone, I think we'll build a church building. Yet, when we trust Him, things like this become a reality. And there's something else for those of you that are new to Great Lakes, new-ish, or if this is your first Sunday, like Carson said, this is the best Sunday ever to be here for the first time. What else is in here are envelopes that these cards came in. And when we had people do these and put them in the envelope, we asked that they not write for Great Lakes Church or for the new building or anything like that. They wrote for and then a name. It might be your name. It might be your name that was written on an envelope that someone gave for. Because we said from the start, we weren't going to build a structure. We were going to build a place for people to have a seat where they can find and follow Jesus, where they can get to be a part of a community where they are loved. And so, welcome to an amazing church. And by church, I don't mean this. I mean this. And you all are amazing people. And so thank you for letting me be part of that and part of this. We're going to have a lot of fun in here, starting today. We're starting a new series today, and as you can tell, it's going to be about words. Not like dictionary words that are big and complicated and tricky to understand, but the words that you and I say all day, every day. And the older I get, the more I start to understand the complexity and gravity and power of those words. But I'm also starting to understand that there's weight to every word that we say. And weight matters. It's important because how much something weighs changes how we handle it, changes how we navigate around it. I'll give you an example. If I were to pull, say, I don't know, this ball out of here and say, does anybody think they could catch this? It weighs maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of a pound. Anybody? Everybody's like, is this a trick question? Not too hard, right? That was easy. Did that hurt? Like, nobody even flinched. In fact, everybody's trying to get in the way. You can toss it back. We can try this again. Anybody out here ready? Here we go. Not super heavy, right? I can't see anything coming back at me. Whoa. We didn't think that through. This is really light. No, and like, you don't have to have a whole lot of reaction time. It's easy, right? So that's one kind of weight. Another kind of weight would be something that's maybe a little bit bigger, right? And you would guess that this weighs a lot more, but not a ton more. We could play catch with this, right, Rob? See, Rob's got it, no problem. And he can throw it back. Thank you for being gentle. It's easy. The shape is different, but we have the ability to go, okay, that's not going to hurt me. In fact, some of us yesterday afternoon or on Friday or maybe every morning at the gym, we play a game with this, and this thing flies all over the place, and nobody really ever worries that it's going to harm them because it doesn't have a lot of weight behind it. But if I change it to something else, you might react a little bit different. Okay? So there's always some smart guy that's like, I'll catch that thing. Throw it at me, right? You would notice, though, whoever's going to catch it is going to position themselves. With the little beanbag ball, it was like, choomp, I can catch that. If I'm like this, somebody's going to get all ready, right? They're going to squat down. And I'm not going to just toss it. I'm going to probably try and cushion it. You thought I was going to throw it, didn't you? She panicked for just a second. We change how we use this. We change how we move around this because this weighs a lot more. This can do damage. This could put a hole in a wall. It could crush a toe. It could break a wrist. This is dangerous. What's so funny in life, though, is we throw these around as if they were these. We just call them words instead. Some words that we use are really heavy. And they carry a lot of weight. They have a lot of gravity, and they can do a lot of damage. Others don't. But we should not confuse the two. We shouldn't get it twisted. But we usually do. And that's what I want to talk about for a few weeks. Because most often in life, we are remembered for what we say. I know there's the phrase out there, we get remembered for how we made people feel, and I think that's true. But you know, there's words that have been said to you that have done irreparable damage to you. There are words that have been said to you that have hung with you and never left. And they were said 30, 40, 50 years ago. Words are really, really powerful, especially when they're shared between two people. And how we pass them back and forth matters, because how much they weigh matters. Because who's catching them matters. And we spend so much time thinking, can I throw this? When we should be thinking, can they catch this? Instead of always thinking, can I say this? Can I get away with it? We should be asking, are they going to be able to receive this? Are they ready for this? Or how could I say what I need to say in a way that they would actually hear what I'm trying to communicate with them? Instead, though, so many of us just pick up the bowling ball and throw it, and good luck. Now, you grew up probably like I did, and there was a little rhyme that was shared with you. You'll finish this for me. Sticks and stones might break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Somebody lied to you. They lied, right? Words do hurt. They hurt worse than sticks and stones because it's not your bones that are getting broken, it's your heart. It's your spirit. It's deep on the inside stuff that hurts with the words. And here's what's so crazy, that might be true if there's distance between you and the other person that's exchanging the words. So like you cut somebody off in traffic and they yell at you and they say certain words to you, you're like, whatever, I don't even care because you don't know them. With the people you know, though, the words have way more weight. Way more gravity. This is really important for those of you who are a father. Happy Father's Day, by the way. Your words with your children carry a lot of weight because you are their father. You're their dad. And there are certain things that they need to hear from you on a very regular basis that might be hard for you to say because they weren't said to you. But the things that come out of your mouth are huge. If you are a boss, they have more weight than anybody else in the office. If you are the head of the PTA, guess what? Your words have a lot of weight. I have like a dozen J's and a dozen Jasons in my life. I know a lot of J's and Jasons, but there are only one of each that really matter when they talk. They're my best friends in the world. They've been my best friends for 20 years. When they have something to say to me, I listen. And sometimes what they say hurts, but I listen anyway. Why? Because we're really, really good friends. All the other J's and Jasons, I'm going to be polite, but I may not take a whole lot of, it might be like a grain of salt kind of thing with what they say. I know a lot of Jakes and Logans and Sawyers and Coles, but only 4 of them get my ear when they talk. Why? Because they're my children, and we're close. And you know this to be true, too. There are jokes you can tell at the office that you cannot tell at home. There are ways you can behave in your school that if you tried that with mom and dad, not going to fly. There are things you can say to your friends that you would not say to your spouse. Because what's tricky about the weight thing is it kind of depends on the context too. And so what I want to encourage us to do is stop pretending like they don't matter. They really, really do. And here's why. You and I are shaped by words. Our whole life has been shaped by words. I can prove it to you. There is something that your parents said to you when you were a kid that you think about every day. Some of you, those words have limited you. Your dad said things like, you weren't good enough. And you've believed that your whole life. Some of you heard things like, you're perfect in every way. And you've lived your whole life like you're perfect because they said so. Think about your coaches, your teachers, your professors, the people that have had an influence over your life and have spoken things to you that you couldn't shake if you tried. You wake up in the morning and that's the noise in your head. You go to try something new and it's the noise in your head. Words stick. The sticks and stones, they're going to go away. You can walk away from those, but the words are going to stay on you. We believe certain things because of what was said to us. We behave in certain ways because of what was said to us. We find certain groups of people to be friends with because of what they will or won't say to us. This is why we join certain groups on Facebook or we join certain groups online, because it's fun to be in the echo chamber. They're not going to say anything that's going to challenge us or hurt us or any of that. We find people that say nice things about us and to us all the time. We conduct our business in a certain way because we were taught how to do business that way via words. Over and over again, no matter where you go. I do want to give one small caveat to make sure that we're all on the same page. As we talk about words today and the couple days, weeks ahead, you may be tempted to think I'm only talking about verbal words. I'm also talking about these words. For all my keyboard warriors out there that love to drop grenades on social media about all the things that you know to be true, understand someone reads those and they hurt. Someone reads those and they lose sleep. Someone reads those and they question everything about themselves. Words have that kind of power. We are walking around throwing bowling balls at each other all day, every day, and wondering why people say, ouch. We're wondering why our relationships are struggling. We're wondering why people don't seem to pay attention anymore. It's because they're tired of playing with this. At the very least, they're tired of us pretending that this is this. And here's the deal. This isn't just words that you say or words that you type. It's unsaid words too. Some of us dads, I don't mean to pick on dads today, it's just Father's Day, so it's an easy target. And I'm a dad, so I feel like it's okay for me to do this a little bit. Some of us as dads, when we're asked, why don't you ever tell your kids you love them? Like, why don't you say those words? A lot of us respond, well, because my dad never said, I love you to me. Now, you think about how that's shaped you. Those were unsaid words. And they have determined the course of your life in a lot of ways. Don't leave them unsaid with your kids. Some of us need to literally stammer those words out. You need to set an alarm on your phone. Tell the kids I love them. And do it individually. Walk up to them and say their name, I love you. And we have friends I'm going to introduce you to in a little bit, doing camp this week. They understand better than anybody that a kid's life is made or broken by the words that get said to them. What they believe to be true about themselves comes from what the adults in their life say to them. And later their friends, and later their coworkers, and later their spouses, and so on, and so on, and so on. Now, here's the good news. You have shown up at a place today that believes the best life possible is a life patterned after Jesus' life, a life following him and being like him every day, every way. And Jesus did a lot of things, and he also said a lot of things. And the way he said those lots of things was not by accident. And we have a great example to follow. So I want to start not with what Jesus said, but what Paul said about what Jesus said in a letter that he wrote to a bunch of Christians, kind of like some of us in this room in a town called Ephesus. We call it the book of Ephesians in the Bible. I don't know why we decided we got to call everything a book, but it's actually a letter that Paul, who started this church, is writing back to them to make sure they understand a few things. And listen to what he says. This is in what we call chapter 5. Imitate God in everything you do, because you are his dear children. Live a life filled with love, following the example of Christ. Paul continues, he loved us and offered himself as a sacrifice for us, a pleasing aroma to God. At the core of who Jesus is, the reason we know who he is at all is because he was willing to sacrifice what was comfortable for him on behalf of you, on behalf of me. That's what sacrifice is. Now, ultimately, that took the shape of a cross, and we celebrate that every Easter, and we talk about that often around here. And no one, I hope, is ever going to ask you to pick up your own Roman cross and carry it somewhere. Like, I know there's an extreme version of this, but to follow his example and to imitate him will likely mean that you and I need to make some sacrifice of our own. So for the people who never heard I love you, and it's not comfortable to say that, our sacrifice may be, I'm going to stutter my whole way through those 3 words, but I'm going to say them. It might mean I really want to get this thing off my chest, but I don't think they're ready to hear it, or this isn't the right time to say it, or I know they're going through a lot, so I'm going to sacrifice my discomfort of having to hold on to that for their sake. Why? Because I'm going to imitate Jesus in everything that I do. Paul didn't say in some things. He said in everything. And that word is going to get really more important as we continue on through his letter. But let's just call a spade so that we all can say out loud. You don't have to actually say this out loud. I'll say it and you can nod along. The Jesus way is an unnatural way. That kind of thinking does not come easy for me. Maybe it does you, but it does not for me. I did not wake up this morning going, I really want to sacrifice my own comfort and my own desires for that of others today. I just don't. And my guess is you don't either. And if you keep a little journal at the bottom of it, if you're like, here's what a win looks like today, give up a ton for other people. You probably scratched that out. Yeah, no, I can't do that today. It's unnatural to follow Jesus the way we're invited to, because Jesus didn't live a natural life. Was he fully human? Yeah. But he did life in a way that does not come easy for us. And sometimes it gets even more difficult when it's not as tangible as I'm going to give money towards some cause, and we move into this space of I'm going to say or not say certain things for someone else. This is why we need a pattern. This is why we call it following Jesus. Because if it's unnatural, you are not going to naturally know how to do it. So you'll hear me say a lot, this idea. We put it on the wall in this out in the lobby now. We talk less about like become a Christian, because that we can define that in 50,000 different ways. Following Jesus, though, that's pretty narrow. Imitating him, behaving like him, thinking like him, and talking like him, we're going to need help. Because here's the thing. Everything he did was from love. Everything. Everything he taught, every example he gave, every story he told, every talk he did, all of it was all steeped in his love for humanity, the whole reason he came. We don't do much out of love. Not selfless, unconditional love. We might love ourselves enough to do certain things. But When was the last time you were getting ready to tell somebody off or unload on somebody or tell somebody what for or get something off your chest or share your opinion and you thought first, is this coming from a place of love? Do I love the person I'm about to talk to? Do I love the person I'm about to destroy with a bowling ball? Before you posted the post, do I love the people that I'm talking about right now? Do I love the people that are going to read this on the other side of this screen? That's the hard part, right? Like, that's the really hard part, is operating from a place of love, like Jesus operated constantly. And he didn't just keep it as like something he felt on the inside. He said it all the time. I mean, the most famous verse in all of the Bible, everybody knows it. For God so loved the world. And guess what? Jesus was saying that to Nicodemus in the middle of the night, a Pharisee who snuck off because he didn't want to be seen in public with Jesus. He said, you're loved. I love you. Can you imagine what it would do to your marriage, to your friendships, to your team, your club, your small group? If everything that came out of our mouths was steeped in love, like everything that came out of Jesus' mouth was steeped in love? What I want to read you next is from the same letter, just a few sentences earlier, and I need to couch it because you'll probably have heard this phrase before, this sentence before, especially if you went to church as a little kid and you remember being in this magical place called Sunday school. Why we called it school ever is beyond me. We go to Sunday school, and the teacher wanted to make sure that you understood the good Christian little boys and girls don't say curse words. In case you love a good curse word, there's no verse in the Bible that says you shouldn't say curse. They didn't exist back then. So this is a little bit murky. And by the way, this is also not me saying we should just, I think we should be careful. But what the scriptures call foul language is not the same as what we call foul language. But this is the sentence that gets read all the time. Don't use foul or abusive language. Now, when we think foul language, we think of specific words. What you're about to see is when Paul's talking about foul language, which he learned from Jesus, he's talking about the damage done as a result, the person on the other side. It's always in the context of relationship. It is not a specific word. It's the context in which the word is used. That makes it infinitely more difficult than I'm just not going to drop the F-bomb. This is what he goes on to say. Don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be helpful and good. Paul, just a quick question. When you say everything, do you mean everything? Yep. So wait, you mean that nothing should ever come out of my mouth that isn't helpful or good? Yep, that's kind of the definition of everything. Not one word that you speak as a follower of Jesus should be less than good or less than helpful. Paul, have you met humans? Yeah, I have. I am one. But we're called to follow an unnatural way, not a natural way. So you're invited to do something that will feel like it needs supernatural help in order to pull it off. To me, this is one of the most difficult sentences in the Bible. Do you know how many words you say in a day? Have you ever tallied how many of them are helpful, good? You're like, yeah, that would be pretty easy. I don't even need all the fingers, right? Like, this is because it's not how we are usually. It's not how we are normally. And then Paul says this to wrap it up. Don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. Paul, are you saying that one of the primary reasons that we would say anything to anybody is to be an encouragement to them? Yep. Paul, are you saying that Christians or Jesus followers should be known for being encouragers? Again, we're talking about everything. Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. I think he'd say you should be exceptional encouragers. You should be the people when people are having a bad day and they're feeling down on themselves and they don't know if life is worth living and all of that kind of stuff. You should be the person they call. You should be the person whose house they pop into. You should be the person when no one else knows where to get a little bit of joy, they come to you. Because they know that whatever you say, it will be good and helpful and encouraging. They can count on you to know when not to say things that will not be helpful. They can count on you to know when to not say something because it's not good for them, it's bad for them. That should be us. That should be what Christians are known for. Does it mean you got to like everybody? No. Does it mean you got to agree with everybody? No. Because that's always the first question. The Republicans will come up to me and be like, but wait a minute, are you telling me I got to be kind to Democrats? Yes. You don't have to vote the same, but yes, you have to be kind to them. You have to find a way to encourage them. You have to find a way to say good things and helpful things, and it goes both ways. Bears fans, Packer fans, I know. I'm still growing in my own faith. It would be easy to sit down and find all the what we think should be the exceptions to this rule. But Paul said, I didn't say some things. I didn't say most things. I said everything that you say should be good, and helpful, and encouraging. The problem is we put the center of the conversation around us all of the time. That's the problem. So when we're sitting across from someone, we say, what they need to hear is what I need to say. I got to get this off my chest. I've been carrying this around all day for weeks. Or I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight unless I let them know my opinion about what they just said. They need to hear this. As if we're going to fix and change and do all that in a few sentences, right? But that's how we think. And Paul will go, okay, it's not all about you. The way we should think, at least if we're following Jesus, and I want to say this, if you are not a follower of Jesus, here's the good news for you today. If you didn't think you were going to get any good news at church, I got good news for you. You don't got to worry about this. You can say whatever you want. You can say bad things, unhelpful things, and discouraging things. But if you're a follower of Jesus, this is the expectation. The expectation is we go, what they need to hear is what I need to say. I think about them first. This might not be the best time. This is a difficult season that they're in the middle of. They just told me they had an argument with their spouse before work. They are whatever, fill in the blank. It's going, I know what I want to say. I also know what they need to hear, and I'm choosing that. Sacrifice. I'll carry the weight on my chest a little bit longer because I'm going to prioritize them instead of me. I'm going to choose my words carefully because I'm not going to throw a bowling ball at them and risk breaking them. They might be able to catch it tomorrow, but not today. And what you might find is as you carry the bowling ball around, you go, I could actually say this in a basketball kind of way. You might actually go, I could say this in a ping pong ball kind of way. And you change what you're going to say because you realize that words are not equally weighted. They're not the same. A ping pong ball and a bowling ball, not the same. And I know that if I hurl this at them, it's going to break them. If I toss this at them, though, they might actually be able to toss it back. And now we're going to have a conversation. Now we're going to build a relationship. Instead of me thinking I just need to win, so I'm going to throw the biggest, hardest, strongest thing at them I've got. There's studies that have figured out how to weight words some, and most find that it takes 9 positive words to counterbalance 1 negative word. Think about that. You say 1 negative thing to someone, hurtful, painful thing, it lowers them so far. You're going to have to pile up 9 positive things to bring them back up to 0, let alone find ways to start encouraging them. And again, the closer you are to that person, the higher the first number becomes. It turns into a 20, a 30, a 50. Again, there are things that you can say to your spouse and destroy them. 1 sentence. There are things that you can say to your kids and destroy them in 1 word, and think about how hard you have to work to repair that. You destroyed it in 1. I'm sorry doesn't fix it, because that's just 1-to-1. We have to understand the danger of our words. We have to understand the weight of what we say. Not just as Christians, but as husbands and wives and kids and parents and uncles and grandparents and aunts and friends. It matters because they matter. When it comes to weight, most of the time we talk about portion control. We need to eat less chips. What I want to talk about weight in our words, I want to talk about proportion control. Where we might spend a few minutes thinking about the people, especially the people closest to us, and we go, okay, on the scale, how many negatives have I piled up versus positives have I given them? And this is a moment where you might go, okay, I'm going to close off the negative for a little bit, and I'm going to focus on encouraging them for a while. Again, this could be your kids, this could be your spouse, this could be your coworker. It's like a ledger. Back in the day, some of us used to have these things called checkbooks, and we'd have to by hand write in, and we would keep track of what we've spent and how much is left in the bank account. And sometimes every time you say something positive to somebody, you put a little berry in their bucket. Every time you say something negative, you take 9 out. So let's measure that. Let's be cognizant of that. Let's be careful with that, instead of just throwing around whatever we think. And think is the way you can start. Ask yourself, what do they think about me when I'm not in the room? If they were going to tell people the things I say most, what would they say I say? I caught my kids the other day doing dad quotes. Evidently, I say the bus is leaving a lot. Thankfully, at least while I was listening, I wasn't embarrassed by some of the things they remember. But I know they do. Think about when your kids, when your spouse, when your coworkers, your neighbors are talking to other people about you. What comes to mind? It starts with what you said to them. It may end with what you made them feel, but it starts with what you said to them. And we can make people feel an awful lot with our words. So just ask yourself, in the days ahead, weeks ahead, where do I need to do a little bit of work? It could be at home. It could be at work. It could be at the gym. It could be in your small group. Where do I need to do some work and do some math and figure out, like, am I being helpful in my conversations with this person? Am I offering good in what I say? Am I encouraging them? I mean, when was the last time I read about a CEO? Phenomenal idea. I'm really going to try this. And some of my team is in here, so they're going to hear me say this. It's in his job description to encourage every person on his staff weekly with a handwritten note. He takes it that seriously. This is a Fortune 500 company. But he understands that a few sentences with his own hand carries so much weight. What if you set an alarm on your phone? Now, a lot of us that have had reminders to be grateful going off for 2 years now. You could change it to be a reminder to be encouraging. Send a text, make a phone call, say it to their face. Encouragement, good, and helpful. Everything that comes out of our mouth. Because words are not equally weighted. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, of all the words you've said, they have all been steeped in love. And they have all been good and helpful and encouragement. So as we think about our families and our friends and our offices and the people we live next door to, will you help us to follow your example? Will you help us to imitate you? Will you help us to realize when we are about to toss someone a bowling ball and they are not prepared to catch it? And in those moments, maybe help us figure out how do we reshape so that it's not a bowling ball and it's maybe more a ping pong ball so that we can preserve the relationship. We love you. Thank you for loving us enough to show us the way and give us the pattern. In Jesus' name, amen.